music is it tends to be more commercial. Every year it almost seems like that. But how do you get out of that spiral of being commercial to reach an audience and?
Well, I think it's about being honest. You know, for us, like, we were raised in church. I say the catchiest songs in the world are nursery rhymes, church hymns, and Christmas carols. Everybody can relate to that. But the thing is, it's about being honest, and I'm all about songs that you can sing along. I'm all about accessibility, but that doesn't necessarily mean prostituting it for commercial sake, like you say. You have to stick to your guns. Sometimes it's okay to have a fun, poppy melody that people want to sing, but are you writing it because you're trying to write a hit, or like, and you can tell when people are trying, like, you know, we're not Rihanna or Katy Perry, you know, we're a rock and roll band, so our job is not just to keep shoveling out powdered sugar for everyone to devour. You know, everyone kind of has this boulimia mentality of like, let's devour it and then let's puke it up and let's go to the next thing. Like, we're trying to slow people down and let them, you know, there's an experience to be had here. You know, music is still an art form. Music is still bigger than all of us. You know, it's spiritual, it's sexual, it's emotional, it's mental, it's physical, it's all these things, which once again, it's the only force on the planet that can do that. So if you're honest and with what you're doing, I think that translates. And then another human can look at you and say like, okay, I buy this. And then, you know, it's now it's two people in the moment. That's how it spreads. You can shove shit down people's throat and it'll work. Obviously it works. Look at the sales for some of this bullshit music, and it's being bought. But, you know, McDonald's has sold a hell of a lot more, you know, hamburgers than a steakhouse does filet mignon. It doesn't mean it's better. So it's, I'd rather have filet mignon.
I really liked that. That was a good one.
Thanks.
Is that also the reason why you both started with music, to share that feeling with a crowd, or to be honest in music, or?
Yeah, I think for us it was about being in church, so you came together. You know, I've said before, at the beginning of time, we were all dancing around fires, beating on animal skins. Where are those things? You know, beating on animal skins and strumming horsehair. If somebody died, there was a song for it. If people got married, there was a song for it. If you went into war, there was a song for it. Music's been a part of the human race since the beginning. You should try. And I think it's still that today. I mean, we saw today a crowd of people, you know, a couple thousand people that were in one moment because of melody and rhythm. Yeah. You know, not to get deep or hippie or try to be, you know.
And we actually played a couple songs that this crowd has probably never heard, and I think my favorite thing about it was looking out into the crowd and seeing them dance to a song that they never heard, and also try to sing along to it, just because of the melody. Like, they would move their mouths to the melody because they wanted to open their mouths and have something to say to it. And it was just kind of, it was humbling, because you're like, I know you haven't heard this song yet. There's no way you've heard this.
It's like the moment creates itself.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when music becomes bigger than us. Our songs become bigger than us, and you see people creating an experience that we can't do on our own. We need the crowd. Right. And so there's a band that creates sound, and that's its own thing. But once the crowd comes in, it becomes this, you know, that's where, you know, the world can change. For, you know, that's where riots could start. That's where stuff, you know, and historically music's been a part of everything. I don't know why I'm on this power of music rant, but I like it.
Keeps you thinking for new songs.
Yeah.
The album was released first in Europe and not yet in the United States. What was the reason for that?
We just had a lot of hype in the press over here, so, you know, people were waiting for it, and we didn't want to let people down in, you know, the UK and the rest of Europe. We didn't want to make them wait forever. But also, we didn't want to release an album in the States because we hadn't really started in the States. It's still not out in the States. You know, it comes out early October. So it's one of those things where we've made a habit of not rushing things. We want things to feel right. Once again, we don't want to shove things down people's throats. We want people to discover it on their own and let it be, you know, kind of a natural thing. And when it's natural, it can last. Hype is very dangerous. We're not into it. Even the hype that we got in a lot of the UK press, like it's dangerous. You know, it's just.
Were you afraid that it might go wrong because of the hype?
Yeah, the thing is, if I sit here and I tell you about a female and I say she's the most beautiful fucking woman you've ever seen, and I'm in love with her, and she's beautiful, she's beautiful, she's beautiful, and that's all I talk about, and she's so hot, and once you see her body and her eyes and her person, I can talk about her and keep talking about her. It doesn't matter how hot she really is, she's never gonna live up to that, ever. You're gonna be like, yeah, she was all right, but, and then you're gonna have a list of everything that you didn't like. As opposed to if I just didn't say anything, and then I said, I want you to meet this person, then you'd be like, well, holy shit. You know, we didn't get that holy shit moment the way we wanted to because, unfortunately, in some ways, the hype got a little too big for our liking. People start trying to drag you into pop territory when you have hype, and we became a hype band instead of a rock and roll band. And then people started like, you know, writing articles about our haircuts and, you know, our 1950s influences instead of our songs. I literally counted 7 reviews. I had to stop reading them because I just got annoyed. But there were 7 reviews the week our album came out. I mean, there was obviously a ton, but 7 that I remember that literally did not mention one thing about one song. Nothing to do with anything musical. It talked about the artwork, talked about literally our haircuts, talked about all this kind of stuff, and it was just like, what the fuck are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I think it can be dangerous. You know, we want people to focus on the music.
So there's a second chance in the States when the album comes out there, or is there hype also?
Yeah, there's hype. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, we're not like, you know, hype does bring attention, so it's not completely all negative. But it is one of those things where we just want to encourage people to focus on the music. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the States. I'm not worried about it here. I'm glad the way things are going now. You know, I'm glad the size shows that we're doing. We're doing fine, and I wouldn't want to slow it down too much or speed it up too much. We're on a good pace right now, so.